Yeah, that's why the feds tried to order inoculation, as you know, in 2002, 2003, model states Health Emergency Powers Act, but it all collapsed when the smallpox vaccine killed some people, and then Tommy Thompson, Health and Human Services Secretary, wouldn't take it. But, I mean, have you had a conversion, or was just that short clip not showing fully what you were saying? Because look, are you Saul of Tarsus, who's had a complete conversion, or were you already partially awake? Did people educate you, or was this taken completely out of context?
I was already fully awake, and I invite your listeners to spend some time in our thinking section at thinkbam.com, where we've published papers on, don't let our nation become a surveillance nation like Great Britain has become, or at our blog at bamintel.com, BAMintel. It's a blog that talks about don't let the DOD take away our ability to look at now.
Okay, so you were saying then what Dr. Horowitz and I and other doctors we've had on have been saying could be warped into people really looking for confrontation. Or, I'm trying to understand this.
Yeah, you're right. And what I'm worried about is the innocent person who's dedicated, as I have, their life to the well-being of others. We go into the work of emergency management, military service, healthcare, emergency safety with the best of intentions, and the people who pull our strings, the puppet masters, if you will, put us directly in harm's way and allow us to be put in danger. And so this was really a loud cry directly into that community of occupational health and safety professionals who work for the government and the public school systems and municipalities at the federal and the state level, saying, listen, you can't put people, and I'm talking about one nutcase here, not a lot of nutcases, not all of everybody that listens to Alex Jones, including me, right? I'm talking about one person who could do harm. And the thing that really concerns me, Alex, is that we keep talking about in the areas that I work, transparency around what can we expect for our school children, what can we expect in the workplace, and it's not happening. It's not happening publicly.
Well, but let me break this down for you. But it is happening. See, just like the health care bill has all the horrible stuff in it, but then the politicians come out and lie and say, we don't know what we're going to do, just let us pass it, and Conyers says you can't read it. Well, the bill's public. We can go read it. I don't know which one's worse, the House or Senate. They're both filled with pure evil.
Yeah, they're both.
But so it's the same thing on the flu. We know what level 6 is under World Health Organization rules. We know what it is under the executive order of Bush that Obama's continuing. And it's forced inoculations, quarantine of cities. We've got the Northcom meetings where they're saying forced inoculations. We've had the emergency managers on and the internal documents I've gotten with phone numbers where they're getting all the big cemeteries ready. Now, whether this is real or not, the issue is they are really getting ready for a massive crackdown. And with the history of black men and syphilis and Tuskegee and the radiating foster children to death and nerve gassing our own troops with Project Shad, on and on for 10 hours, Mr. Burton, that's why people are saying, over my dead body, you're not shooting me up with that. The swine flu vaccine in 76 killed a bunch of people. So I know this sounds crazy. Look, it sounds crazy to have the White House science czar write an 1,100-page book saying they're drugging the water and want to break up the family. But that's in this new bit. Look, I'm sorry that the government's completely psychopathic.
No, I agree with you. And everything you just said is very, very real. And what the point that my apology to your listeners is really about not casting disparagement upon all the points that you just made, because they're accurate, but casting a word of warning to people who could innocently be used in this nefarious scheme and find themselves doing work that they're not comfortable doing. Now, as an emergency management professional who's consulted with some of these bad guys, I can tell you that I have many sleepless nights where I feel like I'm spiritually caving in under pressure, and we've walked away from business because it's just bad news.
Well, you know what? That's a good reason to have you here then. We're about to go to break, but when we come back, specifically, because you're in the middle of this and your company works with the FBI and FEMA and many others, tell us specifically then from kind of the inside and your little quadrant of this compartmentalized system, what you're seeing and what's happening. And I certainly understand your concern. It's just that when you research more about Theodore Kaczynski, L.A. Times, he was CIA. I believe he did run off the reservation and was actually real, though. He was so freaked out by the elite's plans that he did some things he shouldn't have. Now, Tim McVeigh's another story. That was run by one of the so-called liberal anti-racist groups. It was done to crack down on the American people.
The world